Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Prespective. The Prime Minister spoke about creating a conducive environment for economy. He spoke about wealth creation. He spoke about prosperity, Pakistan being self-reliant, changing the mindset. He spoke about the economic growth. Let's talk about all of that. Let's talk about how Pakistan hopes to get there, how the PTI, the new government, the vision of the Prime Minister, and what can we hope for the near future. We'll be talking about particularly also CPEC. We'll be talking about whether this mega game changer will actually prove its worth. I have with me Nusrat Wahid, who's an M&A with PTI. Thank you for joining us today. Dr. Manzoor Ahmed, who's a senior economist. Thank you for joining us today. And Shakil Ramesab, who's also a senior economist. Thank you for joining us today. Nusrat, like I said, a lot of things that the Prime Minister spoke about, rang true. For every Pakistani, they're very important. The kind of situation that Pakistan is in, I don't think that anybody is a stranger to with the rupee dropping, with the economy where it is. What is the vision of the Prime Minister? How does he think we will get there? How does the PTI hope that Pakistan will actually get to a point where we can be self-reliant, to a point where we can talk about creating sources of wealth creation, which is what the Prime Minister spoke about. Changing the mindset, perhaps is perhaps a more long-term goal. But how are we going to get here?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this important issue. Pakistan has been, when we came into the government, right. Pakistan has been to its depth, very down.
Right.
Sorry. Can I have water?
I'll come back to you. I'll go on to Manzoor Saab. Manzoor Saab, before I was talking to Nusrat about the fact that, what is PTI's vision? As an economist, do you think that we are on the road to trying to achieve all of these goals?
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Just to clarify, I'm actually a practitioner. I was Pakistan's ambassador, etc. I'm not basically an economist, but I do see the economy very closely. Well, for the first 3 months, things didn't really go their way. I mean, perhaps they were not really prepared, and now they're getting prepared. And the way to move forward is always through reforms. And there's no shortcut. I mean, you can borrow, get something sorted out for a short while, but then you have to move on, and that only can be done through reforms. The thing about PTI is that they have set up these task forces for right. everything, for energy, for economy, for housing, for anything. And hopefully they're hoping that they would soon come up with their recommendations, and they'll be well considered recommendations. And then if they move on those reforms, because reforms sometimes are difficult,
right,
because my particular field is trade, international trade. And international trade, we can only move if we change our current policies, completely change and,
right.
and go in a new direction. I mean, we have isolated ourselves. We have to be part of the global economy, and only then we can make progress. So it seems that.
But don't you think this government is now making efforts to, to integrate more with the world, for global integration as far as Pakistan is concerned, so that perhaps, we can move towards those goals, like you're saying?
Yeah, but practically we haven't seen much. They have given some signals, say, to India by opening Kartarpur, so that
right.
maybe in the region they can make better. But, opening to the rest of the world means that you open your economy, you integrate, we have very
what
high.
What about China? I mean, of course we have.
Oh, China, we always had that. We always had that. That's, but there was a problem again with China. China, we had always very close, but for the first 2-3 months, mixed signals were going.
Right.
Even from the government ministers. Now they are settled. Now they realize.
Because, there was all of that, and I'll go on to Nusrat also with this, but there was all of that, as far as Asad Umar was concerned, there was all of that news coming in, whether the Prime Minister was not happy, and then, it was contradicted. So there was a lot of the stuff going on as far as the PTI themselves, the government itself coming into power, finding its feet, finding out what exactly, the situation
Okay.
was, which is also one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Nusrat,
Yeah.
one of the things that is being said was that they didn't have the idea about exactly where and how bad the situation was.
Yeah, before coming to government, once we have been to province and we worked there very good, and we thought that federal government will the same. But when we came here, we knew it before that corruption has been done to this country, but not this level that they drained the whole country. Now what we have to do is rather I can say that we have 100,000 people who are below 35, and now we have to give jobs to them. We have to enable the environment for them. So we are trying to do things which can bring them into jobs or enhance the finance. Firstly, we had terrorism, we had corruption, and we have so
But
many
to be
things.
fair,
But
all of those things have existed in Pakistan for a long
yeah,
time.
for a long time. But now we have overcome over terrorism, but financial corruption is still there. We have to take strong measures to stop that thing, because all the government officers, bureaucrats, everywhere, they are used to of doing corruption.
Right.
So once we will overcome that thing and we will create the environment. And environment, how can we create the environment? Because there are so many untapped
Like Dr. Manzoor is
positions, like
saying, Ji,
yeah,
and Dr. Manzoor is saying, when you talk reforms are essential
yeah,
for the kind of investment, the kind of the kind of prosperity, the self-reliance, sources for exploring wealth itself. That
yes,
kind of
yes.
those
We
goals.
have so many things. We never touched them, like resources of you can say the things which are under in Balochistan, in Sindh even, we have gas and everything is there in our country, but we never touch them. If we'll try to find out the things, and then we will have that thing, and we have to make ourselves friendly with our neighbors.
Which is what, in a sense, what Dr. Manzoor was also
Yes,
saying, that we need the kind of global integration
global,
that we need
yes,
with the rest of the
yes,
world.
yes.
Perhaps we
Because
haven't had.
unless and until we will have good relation with Afghanistan, Iran, India even, we won't be able to create
But we've seen what happened with
peaceful.
India, and I will come back to you, Nusrat. Let me go on to Shakil Rame Saab. Shakil Saab, we've seen what happened with India. Our Kartarpur, it is an initiative, whether, India says it's a small one or whatever, and the world has agreed that we have taken a step, but, it's not been reciprocated. The situation with India is not an easy one. Among others, that is only one of the challenges that Pakistan faces when it wants to create the kind of global integration that Dr. Manzoor is talking about to achieving the kind of economic prosperity that we want. So what will we do? How will we get there?
Look, first of all, so economic integration, I have a different perspective.
Right.
So we are opening our economy from the 1989. So when we handed over our microeconomy to IMF from the first package, if you look at the first package and there is a conditionality for the Pakistan, you will find each and everything which we are talking today. So we are quite open economy. We are the true follower of the Washington consensus, although it was not a Washington consensus, but it was. So we are following that. We are opening up our markets. That's one of the reasons our imports are increasing, because we are not competitive in the international market. It's not about the integration or the openness. It's a matter of the competitiveness of our domestic market. Because in international market, you cannot sell the argument of you are like that, give us a hasar or a special treatment, like these things. But you have
So
to
you
be
think we're not competitive enough?
So we are not. For sure, we are not competitive enough for many things. Another thing, so our trade policy or the trade guys who are serving this country for the many decades, they could not find a way how to diversify and how to tap the new market. For example, from 2006 we are having FTA with China. So what we are offering to China? Textile. They have enough textile in their country. We are offering them rice. The rice is being rotten in their stores.
Right.
So we are offering them these things which they don't need.
So what should we be offering?
The thing is, we have to identify each market.
Right.
What they need, each country. For example, if somebody is interested in buying a jeans, you're selling him in a cotton. So it will not work. You have to find out, because this is the problem. Our trade guys, they could not perform according to the requirement of this country.
Right.
They were just remain busy in doing the fancy stuff. So we are doing this, we are doing this. But the real thing is to tap new market,
Right.
the diversified market. One thing. Second thing, the national industrialization policy or the national policy of the production. We are unable to diversify. For example, again gave example of China. China needs mango from Pakistan. What we are doing to export mangoes to China? China needs citrus from Pakistan. What we are doing to export citrus to China? We are again emphasizing on textile. We are again emphasizing on these things which they don't need. Even our friend, because in the market there is no friend. You are the client and a customer.
Right, right.
You have to act according to the requirement of the market. So first thing is, what reforms we are talking about, we are doing it for the last many years.
Right.
These reforms are not helping us. If you have, from my
We
perspective, is
haven't
that
really done any reform.
no, we did a lot of reforms. We opened our economy.
Right.
So from 1989 to onward, we are opening up our economy. We have signed WTO. So we are member of WTO to open up these things. So because these are the things we are doing it. And
So in your
only
opinion, what kind of shift do you need? Which is
we
what you're
shift
talking
need. We have to make our industry competitive.
about. Right.
One thing. Second, we have to diversify our economy if we want to be sustained in international market. Otherwise, you can talk about things. One thing, always we talk about one thing. So the ease of doing business. So, but nobody is talking about the ease of doing business, how we can achieve it. Because we talk about the one window operation. One window operation in Pakistan is not possible. I can bet on it. Why? Because after 18th Amendment, you have devolved the Board of Investment to, given the certain powers to them. You cannot interfere in their matters. Only you can coordinate with them. So maybe you have to revise those things, not talk about the past which has happening. There's no one window. We can talk about the one roof. You can bring all the people from at one place and they tell them, okay, this is the provincial subject, this is the federal subject, this is the, you can talk about the local perspective, like what the China did. China is a highly centralized country. But what they are doing for the special economic zones, that was entirely a different strategy.
Right.
They adopted it. One thing and second thing, if you talk about the government will take time. Nobody can fix the problem which have been here for so many things.
So what's
the
the
government
solution?
was thinking, so they were thinking that there was a minor problem in the car, but they came into the power and the driving seat, they find out that there is no engine. So how to drive the car without the engine? So there is a problem from my perspective, and Asad Umar also is saying this. If you look at what his hard talk, 2 to 3 years, at least you need 2 to 3 years to bring back the economy on footing. You cannot judge it,
But
because
my question is that are we heading in the right direction? Not
We
that,
are heading.
It might take 3 years. It might take.
we are
of course,
heading.
that's what-
My take is we are heading,
Right.
but the course is very difficult. It's like a surgery.
But
The
it's the
economy-
right course in your opinion.
Yes, we are on the right course, but it needs a surgery. The surgery had to be performed. You cannot fix the things by the pills.
But we're not. But are we doing the surgery?
Yes, we are in the process. That's why we're facing this problem of the dollar. That's why we're facing the problem of inflation. That's why we're facing other problems, because they're trying to solve the
So
problem.
you think that things are going to get worse before they get better, which is one of the things that is being said.
For 1 year or 1.5 years, the things will remain the same. If the government claims they will give the relief, so I don't see it, because the economic indicators are telling you the things will not come on the way, because it will take time. The first crisis they have averted by engaging our friends, but the second payment or the second installment they have
But
to
the
go.
point is, if you talk about what I'm saying is that if we talk about engaging, other people, other countries, we talk about global integration, which is what we're talking about. It's not easy, and there are so many issues. If we talk about Afghanistan, if we talk about India, as far as our own strategic position is concerned.
If you look at the diplomacy, we are gaining the space. Because why we are gaining the space? Because again, if you look at the Americans, they are coming back to us. Although it's a politics, Pakistan need to be very careful. Don't take it for granted like that they're coming back and everything is okay.
No, of course,
So,
and
but
we've seen a
again,
shift
we
there
are
also.
engaged with Afghanistan deeply. We are helping them because it's a way Pakistan has understand, and Pakistan is understanding it for the long time. If Pakistan has to expand CPEC to Central Asia or to benefit from the Central Asia or the Northern Africa,
Right.
the Afghanistan should be on our side.
Right.
If not on our side, that must be a neutral place. It should not be like there's some enmity.
Right.
So Pakistan is working on the 15th, tomorrow, so the trilateral dialogue is being again started there.
Right.
Pakistan is also engaged with Afghanistan in the heart of Asia.
Right.
So their progress is going on. with the Indian side. So we are offering them the good gestures, and this is a huge gesture. Indian cannot ignore it.
Right.
Despite all their enmities and refusals, they have to send the people and this kind. One thing, and second thing, other indicators from Europe. So Germany, Volkswagen is coming to the Pakistan. If you look at from Rhino is coming from France, other investments are coming to the Pakistan. So
Right.
these will be the real
That,
indicators.
I want to talk about that. Let me go to Manzoor Saab. I'll come back to you, and then I'll go on to Nusrat. Manzoor Saab, all these indicators of all these foreign companies, which there's been a lot of talk about that coming to Pakistan. Is it an indicator that we are finally things are finally going to change?
Well, in some ways we could say that maybe if some companies are coming, it's
Right.
good for Pakistan. But if you compare us with any other country, for example, if you look at last year's or even this month's
Right.
whatever FDI coming to Pakistan, compare it with any other country, with India, Vietnam, any of the comparative countries, we are nowhere near. We are, maybe we get a yearly $2 billion of FDI.
But why compare when we're
No,
not
no,
anywhere?
you have to benchmark.
Right.
If you're getting nothing, if you're getting 1 billion and the other country is getting 50 billion, that means there's something wrong with the country. Why can't Pakistan, being 200 million people, get more FDI, like say, even Bangladesh or Vietnam or any other, Indonesia or Malaysia or any other country.
Right.
So, things are not quite rosy as just because Coca-Cola is going to spend something or one car company is coming or something. It's not something really. It is a hopeful sign, but not.
Right.
But the other thing what Shakil said, I have slightly different perception.
Right, please.
I think that any World Bank report, IMF report, any other country's report, or we go to WTO to present our trade policy, and we get that you have to integrate with the rest of the world. You have the highest tariffs in the world. Other day this conference where the Prime Minister was, and the Horde Chamber president who produces engineering goods, he said, look, even if I want to import steel sheets for producing some engineering goods, the tariff, all the combined tariff comes 92%. He says there's no other country in the world which would have this thing. So we have had little bit of, from 89, okay, we start opening up. 1 year and next year we reverse, every time we reverse. 1 or 2 years we do. There was some little gap from say 97 we started some reforms, and again we had to stop because of nuclear, but then 1, 2 we did. And the economy was going like this, 7-8% growth,
Right.
and there was our exports were 15-14% going up, and in 6 years, 7 years time they doubled. But from 2008 till today, we at least in international trade we have not seen. I mean, we are every year putting in 500 billion in these state-owned enterprises. We can't privatize. We know it's going down the drain. We know the steel mill is dead, and this PIA, railways, etc. But still, we have to, just like the banks. There were banks, they were going bankrupt, but then government privatized them. Now they're giving a lot of money to government rather than taking anything from
You
government.
think privatization is the solution?
Yeah, I mean privatization, opening up, reforming, that is the solution.
What
That's
kind
what
of
has China
reforms
done, that's what
particularly?
has India done, that's what has, look at any comparative countries done. Pakistan, I don't agree that it's because of trade guys. Trade guys, it's the business that do. It's not government bureaucrats who go and do any business or produce anything. It's the private sector. So we have to let them. And about, when you open up, for example, he mentioned about corruption.
Right, that's
Now the
accountability.
corruption, the only way to deal with it is, I read somewhere the president said, I paid 50,000 for a telephone connection. Okay, but if telephone, it was very strict. Once you open up, you don't need to corrupt anybody. You just go and buy a phone and you give it. So when you open up, if you have license or if you have permissions, then you involve corruption. But the other thing is that, if we wait till the corruption ends, then we'll
Then
have
we
to
won't
wait
have-
forever.
right,
And
right.
Pakistan has already made good progress. We used to be in the last 4 or 5 most corrupt countries, and now we have gone up. We are now 116 out of 160 or something like that. So we have made progress. The problem is more about, there I agree with him, that it's competitiveness. We are not competitive. Not competitive
But it
because
is it because we're not producing the kind of quality that we need?
yes, we are not producing. For example, even in textile, you look, the whole world has moved from any garments is because we still produce cotton-based garments.
Right.
The rest of the world now use a lot of man-made fibers, polyester fiber, etc. Previously at one time maybe 20% is used to be that and 80% cotton-based. Now
it's
the rest of
80,
the world is
right.
but Pakistan is still, because we don't allow polyester to come in at international prices, because we have high tariffs, so we don't allow. It's the same thing with our cars. Why aren't we able to export any cars? Turkey, other countries like India, only in the last 15 years, they're exporting. Because we insist on our car that you use so many parts locally, that brings down the quality of the car. And the other thing is we have such a high protection that the car guy has no interest in going selling it outside. He gets earn money here,
Right.
and it's fully protected market. And so I don't agree that we had done any reforms or any opening up.
You're
except
saying, so
short periods.
basically you're saying a change in policy, a dire change in policy
Yes,
is
that's
needed
what- yes.
for
In the
us.
car,
That's what-
in the
yes.
car industry, we are assembling. We are not manufacturing.
Oh, yeah.
The
The
first,
whole
the
is
first
assembly.
manufacturing plant is coming to now from the China Photon. They are coming now. They are assembling, guys. They are just assembling in the Pakistan and having these things. Manufacturing is not happening
no,
in
no.
Sar.
What happens
Sorry
is-
for that.
No.
One thing, but other
okay.
thing, we are talking about the openness. We are giving the example of the China. How China opened? It's a one-night opening. Are they still making that they have the state-owned enterprises, so which are making the big business? There's another private sector only. So now they have shifting the balance to the private sector. Before that, when they were progressing and when they were developing, they have the major contribution of the state-owned practice. I just give one example from the U.S. Finance Minister in 1767 or 70. He said, Mr. Franklin, he said, we put the taxes on even the nail of the horse, because we have to protect our industry. And there he must have read this book, the Kick the Ladder, from the South Africa.
1760
First they
is
developed,
different.
and they look at the development status of their country.
So you're
then
saying
they
that
make the decision how to open and to what level to open. We cannot go like that, the blindly that's open everything, because you will not able to compete. What you will do? What we are facing right now? We are opening. We have open economy. If you look at the ranking from the 1989 onward, every year you can bring all the documents here. You can look at the policy.
But he's
You can
right when he says that state-owned enterprises are eating up a lot of money, and we know that they are.
In Pakistan, there is a problem because we are not. Problem is that Pakistan is not economy is not a functioning. Or the actors of economy is not functioning according to the competitiveness index. But we are how we are running. Our politics is the problem. Any political party, they try to oblige their cronies. That is not a way to run a state-owned enterprise. You run a state-owned enterprise on the basis of their ability of the people and the capability of the people. So that is the main problem for us. One thing and second thing, we are still experimenting. Private sector have to play a role, but within the limits which the country provide you. So first we have to invest on the private sector from our country, who can make money. As Imran Khan said, we are not against the making money, we are against when you evade the tax.
Shakil sir, we don't, right. So are we making, let me come back to you, Nusrat, are we working on incentives to actually increase, our tax net, which is one of the big issues as far as our revenue collection is concerned, as far as our condition of our economy is concerned. Of course, we might be getting our bailout packages, installments of that, but that's not going to sustain us. We need an economy that can find its own feet to stand on.
I think yes, we are working on it, but right now we can't impose on people that they. We said that you should and you must be, but it's up to the people that they are giving tax or not. That's why government has, I think, increased everything so that in other way we will get the tax.
But there's still a large segment of society that is not under the tax net. It's not
Yes.
about increasing the tax. It's not about taxing those who are already under
because
a
people
heavy
are
burden
not,
of tax.
Yes, people are not joining that line. People are not ready to go to that thing. They are earning a lot. They are doing everything good, but still they don't want to pay. And whatever they buy on a very high price and show very small price. So these are the things which are damaging. Actually
So
damaging.
what are some of the measures that your government has is planning to undertake to increase the tax net, for
See,
example?
I'm not from the finance, but still I can say that Asad Umar has been doing a great job in increasing the finance of the country, and In this way, he will do something. I don't know what, but he will do something definitely.
Dr. Manzoor, according to Nusrat, something will happen. Some measures will be taken. In your opinion, as far as your
In 3
expertise
months,
is
you
concerned.
can't do anything.
Let's talk about tax, our tax to GDP ratio, which is horrendous. I mean, I won't say any other any other word. Do you think that there are chances we can increase this?
Well, I worked in Federal Board of Revenue as
Right.
member customs, so I know the taxation department a little bit. But you see, our problem is other countries, they depend on direct taxes, which is income tax. In Pakistan, because we derive almost 45%, there's no other country in the world which even takes more than 20% taxes from international trade.
Right.
We have custom duty, withholding tax, other duties, lots of taxes we get from there.
Right.
So we are comfortable that, and those indirect taxes are normally passed on to the poor.
Right.
It's and we have to change the basic thing.
Structure,
Like
yes.
we have to be like other successful countries, not the way we have been doing. We have to accept that our policy failed.
There's a lot
We
of
have to-
talk about moving from indirect taxation to direct taxation.
Direct taxation. But the best way is that the more automation you bring in, so, for example, look at even China, it's a different country, different things.
Yes.
But they have made it almost, everything is through, you don't have a deal with cash. So everybody's, whatever you spend, you
Yes.
buy some, you go to hotel, you go abroad, so everything is recorded. So the government has, so we have to bring in far more IT so that everybody's, spending. For another thing, I've lived in Switzerland for several years. What they do is, okay, you go and live there and you say, maybe I don't have any income. They say, okay, you're living in this house. Maybe this house is 200,000 rupees per month. So normally you spend about 20% on your rent. So that means at least your income should be 1 lakh. That means that, and for a year your income. So they say, okay, you pay 30%. Now here we live, all these people live in posh houses, all the assembly members, and you look at they hardly pay any tax. They only pay taxes on what they get their salary from there.
Right.
From this.
Right.
So they have to start from there. They have to make examples of people, in the top, and I think that will serve others as well.
Nusrat, is your party willing to make an example out of your own people, out of all the members, which are not only from your
Yes,
party but all
yes.
the politicians?
Yes, definitely. We want that we should contribute. Everybody should contribute, but especially the parliamentarians should contribute in making our country in a positive way to uplift its economy, other thing. Because otherwise, if everybody will be indifferent, then situation will not improve.
But it has to be seen to be done. I mean, it
Yes.
has to be seen.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
with the passage of time, you will see the improvement. It's not that in 100 days you can bring magic and do everything all right. So we have to wait.
Right, Ji Shakil Saab, what do you think?
I completely agree with Manzoor Saab on the taxation system. I think we have to revise our taxation, overhaul our taxation system, and we have to introduce the technology and make it easy. Right now what is happening, so system is so much, Manzoor Saab will agree, so much difficult. Even if I want to pay, I want to avoid it, because you have to look at the so many paperwork, everything here and there you have to. If the process would be easy, maybe more we can increase. The technology can play a big role. One thing, and second thing is, maybe we also have to look at the innovative ways. For example, I gave one example from China. So what is happening in China? They don't send you the electricity bill. You have to buy a card of electricity. It's a prepaid. It's not a postpaid like in Pakistan.
Which is also an option in other countries, like for example,
in Pakistan we have to bring it,
London,
because
in England
we are losing so much on the electricity, on the theft, electricity theft. We have to bring in this system, maybe in the Pakistan also. Like this way, we have to bring the reforms in a taxation system. People wants to pay the tax. If I can give example from the 2007, we had the 2.4 million people in the tax net.
Right.
Today we have 1.1 million. So where are the
so why is it right? So why the reduction then?
So reduction is that the system has to be more improved. It should encourage the tax paying behavior. But what we did in the last 10 years. We offered 5 amnesty schemes where we are telling the people you don't need to pay that 20% tax. Just after 2 years, there would be a scheme where you have to pay only the 2% tax, and the 18% is saved. So our practices was encouraging to avoid the tax. One thing. Second thing, the rate of taxation. Like a quote from the first economist who talk about the first person on the Ibn Khaldun, he spoke about if the tax rate is minimum and the lower, that means your economy will be prospering. Right. If you are increasing the taxes, your tax paying community will be limited and your economy will not be flourishing.
But you don't have a choice.
So no, we have the choice. We have to bring the people in the tax net who are awaiting that, like Manzoor Sahib was telling us, the person who is living with the home of the 20 million or the 40 million price, he is not paying any tax on that house. From where it's come? Because he has the wealth. Right. One thing and second thing, as a few days back when the government was talking about the 700,000 people, they have prepared a list of 700,000 people who can pay tax but they are not paying taxes. So they have sent the notices to the 300,000 people, so they the big fishes. So they are trying to make them that they pay the taxes. One thing and second thing, other system is when you are turning your ID card number to your tax number, anytime purchasing you are making, so that will be on your ID card number, right. So you can identify who is doing what. In China, they find their people are standing outside on the golf club, because golf club is very costly in China. When somebody goes there, they ask them, from where you get the money to come to the golf club.
Right.
So their system is like that. We have to devise some system where we can make the check and balances. For the taxation system, I think the technology is the best solution available. We have to apply it.
Right. Dr. Manzoor, what about, let's move on. Let's discuss CPEC as a game changer.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's been said about it. The
Yeah.
previous government said it. This government has echoed it also. Do you think that it's a project that's actually going to bring in all that? Of course, there are issues with it also.
Personally, I'm very positive on CPEC because
Right.
a country like Pakistan, where hardly you get any foreign investment, 1 or
Right.
2 billion,
Right.
and you have some 60-70 billion dollars coming in,
Yeah.
and already you see within 2-3 years the changes that have come. For example, only 2 years ago, if you were sitting, you'll hear the generators and electricity going on and off, and now at least you have electricity. I don't know where you live, but where I live, it used to take me 5 hours to get to my village near Abbottabad.
Right.
And now it's a motorway halfway, so distance has come down. This was the first early harvest projects. Now we are going in the next phase.
Yes.
Next phase, and this will be more about improving our industrial productivity. Maybe some of the things which China is getting out, like clothing, etc. They would rather shift it here, and agriculture productivity. We are in many things. Most of things our production is about half the international Chinese level.
Right.
So if they bring that international technology here, and all these things, I think very positive that this could change.
But what
it's
are some
unfortunate
of the issues?
that
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, please. I said there are a lot of issues with CPEC itself also, there has been criticism on it, there has been, a lot of, as far as Afghanistan, there are certain, we need other countries, our neighboring countries to perhaps, be, if not on the same page, then at least,
Yes, you're very right. We need support and countries, other countries.
Right.
You see, CPEC is one part. This is the whole Belt and Road Initiative. About 70 countries, about 3/4 of the global this thing. So CPEC is one part. So it's also there's roads going in Central Asia and other countries. So but it's good to utilize it by bringing the neighboring countries in, by Afghanistan, maybe also India, maybe all these countries, so that it's not just a route going from China to the sea and taking their goods. We fully make use of it. Yes, that I agree with you.
But the issue is on the CPEC, the negativity problem is I don't see it's a justifiable. The reason is any country can have a bilateral engagement with any country.
Right.
For example, if India is taking the joint strategic initiative with USA, so nobody is saying anything about that.
Right.
Why? Because they are independent countries. So we are independent country. Why India is making fuss? Why US making a fuss? If there are some problems, they can go to talk to China. So why they are talking about on our initiatives?
Well, obviously because they're not happy as far as our investment.
So that's why they are putting so much money in their media and trying to create something like that. China is taking away everything. So that is another case. The problem is with CPEC is the fundamental things which Pak government have to do. First thing, In the second phase, when special economic zones will be built, you need the skilled labor. If you are not able to create the skilled labor,
Right.
then you will face the problem.
And there is a lot of talk about the fact that we don't have the kind of skilled labor,
So that's what I'm
labor
saying.
that is needed.
So during the last 5 years, that must be our top priority. But
Right.
unfortunately, it was not.
Have we worked towards?
We worked on a few things. For example, on the NAFDEC, we built one institution in Lahore with the Tinjan University Corporation in Lahore. So that is they're trying to do it, but
Right.
the required number we are not producing that. This is how much it is important. For example, in the trade war of China and US, there were so many companies who wanted to shift from China to other countries just to avoid the trade war of US and China, but they couldn't. They did not. Why? Because they could not find the matching infrastructure and the skills in other countries. So that is too much important. If you have to survive that and you have to benefit from the CPEC, you have to invest on your skill development. One thing. Second thing, CPEC is making progress with other countries. You have the 100 issues with Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is on the same page for the CPEC. So they have become the partner, because in the last month I was in China with their foreign office and their finance ministry. We were discussing. Right. They are the delegate from Afghanistan also.
Right.
They are open to that CPEC. It's not about the CPEC is not only Pakistan. It's also contribution coming from the China.
Right.
So they are connecting it. So that is a ray of hope. That's why the Afghanistan is coming back on the negotiation tables with the Pakistan. Now the trilateral dialogue, it is between among Pakistan, Afghanistan and China. So things are moving on the positive side. And if you look into Indian side, there are same voices in India. Even there the ex-foreign secretary who is a very famous hawkish boy, but he is also saying India must cooperate with China for the BRI and the CPEC. Right. Because this is the talk of the town and this is the reality. It's not a wish list. On the practice, on the ground, they are investing something. On the CPEC, we can make a progress, but fundamentals we have to keep it very straight. Right. One thing, skill. Other, we have to innovate. I have to revise our trade policy, because whatever you will be producing in special economic zones, it will be more than our domestic consumption. You have to export it. You have to find a new market. And it's a job of the government to find the new job.
So we need that kind of research so that we have all that laid down beforehand.
Previous government, they have established 2 or 3 departments, a Center of Excellence on the CPEC, Center for CPEC, for the same purpose. But I am not aware what level of the research have been done there.
Nusrat,
but
do you think, I'll come back to you. Nusrat, of course, one of the big pluses of CPEC and the kind of progress that we're making with it is that the fact that now this time, perhaps this government, a lot has been said about the fact the military and the civilian government are at one page about investment, about corruption, about all the major steps in a way perhaps that it has never been before. That will make a huge difference to a project like CPEC, won't it?
Yes, because our army chief and PM, they have already said that we are on the same page, and it gives actually a very positive effect on others and on enemies also, those who are against Pakistan prosperity.
And on other countries, of course.
Other countries also, because before that it's always a tussle between army and government. So this is the first time I think army has come forward, and now our
it sends the right kind of message.
Yes.
and I guess for investment also.
Yes.
Ji Manzoor Saab, do you think that we have
I mean, this should not even be talked about, because they are all different organs of state. They should all be on the same page. It's unfortunate the tensions in the past, and it's a good thing that they're now
Right,
they're cooperating.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, we've seen the kind of effect that it can
Yes,
have on other
yes,
countries.
you're right,
So
you're
one
right,
has to be realistic enough to appreciate perhaps.
Yes.
But as far as the trade is concerned, which is what Shakil Saab is saying, that we need to change our trade policies. What's your opinion on that?
No, I 100% agree with change, but we have to open up to change, because what the word trade has changed. It
Right.
used to be previously, okay, as you said, something. It used to be, you try to make the whole shirt. Now somebody sends you buttons, somebody
Right.
shirts, and things come. 70% trade is now in components. So even if you make a pen, somebody will send you the cap, somebody will color it.
Right.
So it's like this happening. But with our trade regime, it is impossible, because first, our trade facilitation procedures are very poor. We are one of the highest cost to send a container here. are something to come in. In another country, it will take maybe a few hours. It will take a few days here to come something and go. So we have to change. We have to change. First, we have to open up, and then we have to change our procedures. Because in all these indicators, if you look at, I'm not saying what, it's just the international indicators who compare 150 countries and saying, you look at the World Bank indicators, trading across the borders. Pakistan will be somewhere about 173 out of 180 countries. We are the last 3%. We have to change this. We have to open up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ji, before I close, Shakil Sahab, your last comments on this.
I think there for reforms in this country, we need to reform of the bureaucracy, because we have to move to the new realities. The old system of the bureaucracy is not working in this now. If you look at the UK, so if they have to post somebody with commercial attaché in some embassy, they give advertisement. From here, they will find a bureaucrat from the Ministry of Climate Change and the Ministry of Education to
but
go
that
as a
has more, I think the Prime Minister also talked about changing the mindset. I think that's also
it's not about the mindset. It's about changing the players of the game. Who knows, you have to point him. For example, the most, if you look at the US system,
you're saying
so they
that
are
there
finding
shouldn't
the
be
best.
Nepotism.
So they're not only nepotism, but they're finding the best guys from the market.
Right.
They are not just going like that with somebody after the bachelor of a master,
Right,
a
look for
bachelor of arts.
competency, you're
So
saying.
he is going for everything in the world.
Right.
He can do something, but not he cannot. If you have to, Dr. Saab can tell us, if somebody have to negotiate the trade, he must be the master in the trade, because the trade has so many dimensions.
You're
so
saying
that you
look
can't
for the best person for the job
jobs.
and keep all the other
It's not
considerations
always like the
aside.
bureaucracy. So from where you have to pick and choose the guys, because they're not trained to do those things. They are trained to do something else. You keep, and in our bureaucracy, one other problem is that the deputy commissioners are always in the big seats. They are trained to do the law and order situation in the country, and they are doing the sophisticated negotiation at the international level.
But even the Prime Minister talked about this, and I think Nusrat can update us. He said from the very point one that we need bureaucratic reforms. We need to reform our accountability. Like for example, NAB is concerned. So there has to be across the board reforms, right, Nusrat?
Yeah, we have been doing it. We have been doing it, and NAB is working separately. We are not influencing on them. Although he met once to the PM, people raise hue and cry, but he is trying that every institution should work on their own and with honestly.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us, Nusrat. Thank you for being with us. Dr. Manzoor Ahmed, thank you for joining us. Shakil Ramesab, thank you for your time. As far as the economy is concerned, certainly we seem to have been, to have gotten on the right path, but certainly it's a long road. We need a support not only from the government, but like we talked about, we need the private sector to contribute. We need across the board all the segments of the society to come together and work towards a better economy, towards a better Pakistan. We need to expand the tax net, which is what we talked about. For that, we don't only need measures or reforms, but also a change in mindset.